projecting the Unit 6 as Charlotte, go ahead. Thank you very much. I'm projecting. So, yeah. What's the outline?
Contrasting deductive and inductive arguments, particular and general statements. Under it, we have reference class and attribute class. Then types of generalization. Universal generalization as disguised conditionals. Deductive argument and inductive argument. Four valid syllogistic patterns. Under it, we have understanding syllogism and understanding negation. Then we have modus ponens, affirming the antecedent. Then we have modus tollens, negating the consequent. Disjunctive syllogism. Hypothetical syllogism. Formal fallacies. Fallacy of affirming the consequent. Fallacy of negating the antecedent. False hypothetical syllogism. Valid argument and sound argument. Deduction versus induction. These terms describe two types of arguments, two ways of reasoning, two ways of supporting a claim with evidence. Deductive argument. If the premises are true, then the conclusion is also necessarily true already. Inductive argument. The conclusion may not necessarily follow into bracket or may not be true, even if the premises are true. Recall premises and conclusion. Argument. A passage that contains a single conclusion that is presented as a logical consequence of reasons, into bracket premises or evidence. Offered. Thus, hence, therefore, so indicates conclusion. Since, if, given that, provided indicates premises, references, or evidence. Refers to the next example. The text for examples.
All right, so let's go through what Madame has done so far. The main outline is what she read out. This course, the unit we are going to engage is heavy. Heavy means it has so many aspects to it, but God will give us grace. We'll learn it together. What I want you to do is to have a good psych frame, okay? So unit 6, what is it doing? It will be looking at reasoning, arguments. There are two types of arguments. I don't have to tell you that. I don't have to tell you that there are. I don't have to tell you that there are two types of arguments. You see that? You have to know that. But I have to help you see the two types. What helps you distinguish one from the other? Okay, two types of argument, two ways of reasoning, two ways of supporting a claim with evidence. One is called deductive argument. The other is called the inductive argument. Now, an argument is deductive, okay? If, as soon as you assume that the premises of that argument are true, it will mean that the conclusion will also be true, necessarily. Then it means that argument is a deductive one. It means you deduced the conclusion from the premises. Now, you see that so far what I've said is using premises, conclusion. If you haven't engaged or revised your discussion on argument, this one, then you will not understand what I said. It is not a difficulty with the one delivering the lecture. It is a difficulty with the Apollos part. Paul is doing his part. But Apollos hasn't done. Right? Oh, Apollos in the part now. A man and couple watering of it and come back. So if you don't know argument, then all this I'm saying that when you deduce, when the conclusion follows necessarily from the premises, might sound too plenty in your mind. Okay? That's what we don't want to happen. So I put a record there for you, which is what is on the screen now, which Madam Charlotte read out for us. What is an argument? It is different from a narrative, which tells a story, tells us how something happened. This morning, I woke up, I ate, I drove, so I came to the office, full stop. This is not an argument. You just told us how something happened. It's a narrative. An instruction will tell you how to do it. So this morning, someone is giving feedback. Let me mute it. Okay. So an instruction will tell you how to do it. Turn to the right, drive 100 meters, turn to the left, look up. That will be the hospital. Stop. That's an instruction. It's not a narrative. A narrative tells you how it happened. An instruction tells you how to do it. Rhetorical polemic is a strong emotive expression captured into a passage. Think of it that way. So you know emotive expression as one expression standing. Okay. If you have a collection of them, you create a passage. I hate working on these labs. They make me feel, oh, these are your tests. They make me feel then, you know. Why did we vote for such a power? Whoever voted for them will go to hell. God will punish every people who did that. These are all emotions, feelings captured into a passage. So it's a rhetorical polemic or polemical rhetoric. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. Okay. Now, these are all passages we looked at, types of discourse. We looked at it. Then we focused on what? Argument as the specific type that we are interested in as critical minds. What's the nature of an argument? Madam Charlotte tells us it is an expression or a passage that what supports an evidence, supports a claim with what? An evidence. What's an argument? You make a claim, then you support it with an evidence, premises, reasons. That is what an argument is. So when you are saying something and you are supporting that something you are saying with reasons why you say what you are saying, then we have an argument. Now the technical language will be what? You have an argument when you have premises leading to what? A conclusion. So on your screen now, Madam will read 2. Then you will now understand what I said when I said an argument is deductive and a valid deduction for that matter, correct? Deduction. When what? The premises, if true, will make the conclusion also what? True. The premises, if it is true, if its premises were true, it would also make the conclusion true. If we assume that the premises were true and it will make the conclusion necessarily true also, then that reasoning or that argument is what? Deductive. That means an inductive argument will be the one where even if you assumed all the premises to be true, the evidence, the reasons to be true, it would still not mean necessarily that the conclusion too must be true. If that is the case, then that argument is inductive. Whilst the earlier one, where as soon as you assume the premises to be true, the conclusion must or also becomes necessarily true. That one is called what? Deductive. Those are the 2 examples we have in this. Charlotte, please read deduction for us and let us see. Example 1.
Deduct. All students write exams. Amma is a student, so she writes exams.
If it is true that all students write exams, the point is it may not be true. Some may not write exams. Some may just do 10 papers and they are still students. So this is not actually true out there. That's why validity is not, if you are making notes, The fact that we say an argument is deductively valid doesn't mean we are saying it is actually true out there. No, validity is just talking about the relationship between what? The premises and the conclusion. It is not stating anything about whether it is actually true or actually false. When we say it's a deductive argument, understand that when I say, oh, this is a valid deduction, I haven't said that what I'm saying is actually true or actually false. That's why I could say all birds fly. My mother is a bird. It will follow therefore that one. Give me a chorus answer. All birds fly. My mother is a bird. Then what will be the conclusion? All of you.
Therefore,
she flies. So she flies.
She can fly.
fly.
She flies.
Fly. Very good. The reason why we are saying yes, it's correct. The reason why we say therefore my mother flies is because of the premises given. If we assumed it to be true that all birds fly, and we also assumed it to be true that my mother is a bird, then it will follow that, like all birds, that's what my mother flies. So we are not saying necessarily that it is true out there. If we said this is valid, the word valid I'm using doesn't mean it is true out there. No. So get that, validity is not truth. You could have an argument being valid, which means it's deductive and the deduction was correctly done. So it's valid. It doesn't mean it is necessarily true. Sometimes people even they deduce wrongly. We'll see that also. So deductions that are valid are not even talking about what? Truth. Now, if you got that, then you can see why on the screen now, this first example is valid. All students write exam. You see how I've moved from the word deductive and I'm now talking valid? Because if you do the deduction correctly, we'll label it. The quality we'll label it by is that it is what? Valid. So a valid deduction has a certain nature. What is it? It has premises that if you assume them to be true, would necessarily make their conclusion also true. Why? Because the conclusion, my brothers and sisters, is already inside the premises. If it is a valid deduction, what it means is that the conclusion is already a subset of the premises. The conclusion is already a part of the premises, like a pregnant woman, and then the conclusion is the baby inside the woman. If you tell the woman who is the premises to come into your room, she will come with the baby. So you can't accept the premises as true. And then when she comes, you say, oh, which one will the baby? But she's pregnant. The baby is connected to the mother, tied to it, like a human being and the shadow. So wherever you move, your shadow will go with you. Think of the human being as a premises. Think of the shadow as a conclusion of a valid deduction. Think of the orange and its seed. Okay, the full orange is the premise of a deduction, a valid deductive argument like this one. If you take the full orange into your room, the seed will what? Already be there. If all those make sense to you, then you understand why we say the premises of a deductive argument have a logical relation with their conclusion. Any questions with deduction so far? No questions. I think. Let me see. Okay. Doris's hand is up. Doris, is there a question or you wanted to read for me? If it's a question, please go ahead and ask. Doris, please, is there a question? If not, then we go ahead. Okay, so if it's a question, you could always unmute and ask later. Now, for induction, though, inductive argument, you could have all the premises being true. It will not necessarily mean that the conclusion must also be true. Look on the screen now. So, Charlotte, if you read this for us, we'll be fine. Example 2.
Most inductive. Most Ghanaians are hospitable. My mother is a Ghanaian, therefore she is hospitable.
I think you can see that if we were even to assume that most Ghanaians are hospitable, and we also accepted it to be true that my mother is a Ghanaian, we are not obliged necessarily to accept, therefore, that she is hospitable. Because this, my mother, could be part of the few. See, when I say most, Ghanaians are. I haven't said all Ghanaians are. So this conclusion I want to draw that therefore my mother is hospitable doesn't necessarily follow from the given premises. That's why this reasoning is inductive, not deductive. Okay. Therefore, how do you distinguish a deductive argument from an inductive one? Simply this. For deduction, if the premises are true, the conclusion will have to necessarily be true also. Otherwise, you create a contradiction. But for induction, it is possible, look on your screen now, it is possible to have the premises being true and yet the conclusion not being true. There will be no contradiction created. That is why we say the premises of a deductive argument prove the conclusion of that deductive argument. It's the premises that proves. It's not the conclusion that proves. The premises are the reasons. That is what offers the proof to support the conclusion, which is your clip. See that? So if I had a valid deduction, the premises prove the conclusion. If the deduction is not a valid one, it will not prove it. So you see why we have fallacy of affirming the consequent, fallacy of denying the antecedent, false hypothetical syllogism. They are also deductions, but they are false or incorrect, invalid deductions. And so their premises will not prove the conclusion. Just understand that for now. Then we move on. So where you want to make the premises of a valid deduction true, and yet the conclusion you are drawing, you want it to be false, we'll say you create a contradiction, opposite language, contradiction. Now, I put the answer there already, but look at example 3. Doris, if you wanted to read, then please go ahead, read for me. Let me see. Or any other person who wants to read, put up your hand quickly and read, and let me see. Yo, thank you, Doris. Go ahead, unmute and read. Doris first. I see 4 other hands. Keep them up. Doris, go ahead. Example 3. Example 3. Go ahead.
Inductive argument.
Yeah.
Since the security man was the last person who left the building yesterday, he stole the project leader's laptop.
Thank you. So the expression is, since the security man was the last person who left the building yesterday, we want to conclude that he stole the project leader's laptop. We saw this week 1 in person. We have seen it over and over again. Now, we all can tell why this reasoning is inductive. It's simply because if we even took it to be true that the security man was the last person who left the building yesterday, if we assume that to be true, it still doesn't mean necessarily that we should conclude that he stole the laptop. No, not necessarily. He may be the last person you are taking. Doesn't mean by force that he stole the laptop, not necessarily. So this reasoning is an induced one. You are forcing the conclusion onto the premises. You are not taking it from the premises. Okay? So this is not a pregnant woman scenario. This is mother holding a child. If you take the premises inside, ask mommy to come in, and mommy is coming with a child, and say, oh, don't bring any abiku. Want to do serious things, you are bringing abiku. Let the young boy go outside. You can go and drop a conclusion and come back. You cannot do that, though, for the deductive argument, which is a valid one when the deduction is valid. So example 4, that's another deduction, different in form from the earlier one we saw. We'll see it again, don't worry. Right now I'm showing you deduction and induction. Then if you get the distinction, then we can now focus on the types of deductive argument quickly, and I hope that you do fine. So let's get Enoch Tano to read for us. Thank you, my lady. Enoch, go ahead.
All mangoes are fruits. My pen
Yes,
is
sir.
not a fruit, so it is not a mango.
Very good. Here, if we accept it to be true, you are the logicians in our critical minds. Look at it. If we accept it to be true that all mangoes are fruits, that's the first premise. A universal statement at that. Look at it. All so and so have done so and so. All mangoes are fruit. That's another way of saying if X is a mango, then X is a fruit. Okay? So that's the starting point. We say all mangoes are fruit. Then the next premise says, my pen is not even a fruit at all. All mangoes, the set of mangoes, are inside the set of fruit. That's what the first statement said. Now the second premise, which is our evidence that we are giving, the reasons we are offering, says, my pen is not a fruit at all. So if you put all the mangoes in a circle, said all mangoes are inside the big rectangle of fruits. Then your next premise now tells us that you are holding a pen. The pen is not even inside the big rectangle. Can it be in the fruit basket now? No. Because all the fruits are already inside a bigger set called what? Mangoes. Excuse me. All the mangoes are inside a bigger set called what? Fruit. I'm trying to show you the logic of it so you can now do your deductions by yourself. If you were very good in Venn diagrams, then I would have just used the Venn diagram to show you. You have a basket of mangoes. All those mangoes which are in the basket, a set of mangoes, you put it inside a truck that has so many fruits. Okay, so the truck, the big bus or truck or chuloli is there. It has several fruits, bananas, coconut, tangerines, what have you. They are all inside that truck. That's the box of what? Fruits. Then you put your mangoes, which are in a basket, all mangoes, into the truck of what? Fruits. That's what you mean when you say all mangoes are fruit. All mangoes are inside the set of fruits. Do you realize that that doesn't mean all fruits are mangoes? No, that's not what you said. You said all mangoes rather are what? Fruits. So one is the subset, one is a smaller set that has been put into a bigger set. That's the starting point. All mangoes are fruit. Now the second premise tells us, my pen is not a fruit at all. Now that means my pen is not even in the truck. Because the truck is full of what? Fruits, which includes mango. But the second premise is telling us that my pen is not even a fruit at all. It's not even in the truck. Then it will follow that it is not a mango because the mangoes are inside the truck full of fruits. If the pen is not even near the truck, that is, it is not a fruit, then it cannot be a mango. That will be valid. Okay, so this is a valid deduction you make. This pattern is not the same as the one we looked at earlier. Where is it? This one. Please read this again for me. Say, deductive argument at the top there. Oh, please read it. Time, go. Keep going. Deductive. Can you see it? Two types of argument.
Okay. All students write down.
This person is willing to read for us, but the background is so bad. So who is reading for me with a good background? Okay, let's see. Yeah, I can take Enoch. Enoch, you are reading now. Oh, you're tired now.
All students write exams. How much is a student?
So she writes.
All students write exam. Please be by your phones, so that your understanding is not obstructed. I want you to get it. So all students write exams. Amma is a student. This pattern of deduction is not the same as this other one that we did here. They are not the same. Look at the deduction going on down here. They are both valid. They are both deductions, but they are different ways of deducing. So that by the time I show you this to you, would have known the modus ponens and modus tollens. That's where I'm getting you to. Okay. So we said all mangoes are fruits. My pen is not a fruit. I negated the consequent. The second part, that's what I negated. The pen is not even in the big set. Then it couldn't be in the subset. Therefore, it is not a mango. This will be valid. It's called modus tollens. What you see here, the pattern, the name we give to it is what? The pattern called modus tollens. It's a pattern of valid reasoning. You are reasoning validly, but by the pattern called modus tollens. If after your universal statement, you negated the consequent, so I have to help you understand antecedent and consequent quickly. All mangoes are fruits. That's another way of saying if X is a mango, then X is a fruit. All women like money. That simply means if X is a woman, then X likes money. No apology, sisters. Men are bullies. That simply means if X is a man, then X is a bully, so on and so forth. Mammals feed their young. If X is a mama, then X will feed their young. So whenever you have a universal statement, it is actually a conditional in disguise, if-then statement that has been hidden as if it is what? A universal statement. We are telling you that when you have an if-then statement, after the if, look on your screen, please. After the if, you get a statement that follows. If, then, So that will help you know, see on my screen now, universal generalizations as what? Disguised conditionals. Antecedent and consequent. So how will you open out the expression all men are bullies? It's simply this. If X is a man, then X is a bully. When you rewrite this as a conditional, then it helps you know your antecedent, X is a man, and your consequent is what? X is a bully. Every student cheats. This is a universal statement. Please, is the person talking taking over the lecture so that I keep quiet?
No, madam, sorry.
So get it muted there, okay? Because this one, they can't joke with them.
Okay.
This is the logic. We have just started doing critical thinking. Critical thinking, unit 6 and 7. That's the critical thinking. The rest are all ingredients that help you to do it. This is the palm not soup proper. If you joke with it, you have spoiled the whole thing. So please, let's be attentive. I'm saying that if I gave you all men are bullies, it's a universal generalization. Okay? You can work with it easily when you open it out and reveal the part of it. Show that it is a conditional. Conditional means it is a statement that comes in the form if so and so, then so and so. See, that's the nature of the statement, but it comes covered and hidden. So you have to open it to know your antecedent and your consequent. And you can work with it. That is what I'm showing you how to do. That's how you're able to interpret the pattern of reasoning going on there to tell whether it is a valid or invalid argument, first and foremost. And if it is valid, which type of validity it is. We are studying only 4 valid patterns: modus ponens, modus tollens, hypothetical syllogism, and disjunctive syllogism. These are the 4 you are learning. And if you get what I'm saying now, simply, then you're able to tell whether it was modus ponens or modus tollens in the first 2 that we've seen. That's where I want us to get together. So I'm saying if I gave you a universal statement like this one, all men are bullies, you are able to open it out to read as a conditional. If X is a man, then X is a bully. When you do it this way, then you can freely tell which one is your antecedent and your consequent. That tells you immediately that conditional statements have what? An antecedent and a consequent. Please read what you see on your screen quickly. The reading is to help people get focused. Let's get Lamte Gad. Go ahead, quickly. Pa. Gad, please go ahead.
Okay. We can clearly determine the antecedent and the consequence of our statement when written as a conditional if-then statement.
Good, go on.
Antecedent, the if clause. Consequent, the then clause.
Very good. So let's look at some examples.
For you.
Go on, sir. Go on, sir.
Example, if X is a man, then X is a bully.
Good.
Antecedent is X, is a man. Consequent is X is a bully. Example 2. If X is a student, then X cheats. Antecedent is X is a student. Consequent is X cheats.
Very good. Be on standby. You read a lot for us. I think you have a good background. So what God helped us see is this. When you have a conditional statement, what is a conditional statement? Nothing much. An if-then statement. If so and so and so, then so and so. If you wash my car, then I give you 10 Ghana. If you love me, then obey my commandments. If you are my friend, you will tell me the truth. If you are a Ghanaian, then you go to IMF. These are all what? Conditional statement. If the antecedent happens, then the consequent will follow. So every conditional statement has an antecedent and a consequent. And I just said that. It isn't all the time that you will see your statement already given as a conditional. So you need to know that. Sometimes you will be given a universal statement. All men are mortal. All planets orbit the sun. All women have done so and so. All this are that. When you have a statement that is in the form of all this have done so and so, all men like money, for example, it is actually a conditional like this ones that you have seen that God held us to see. It's a conditional. It's only hidden. So you have to open it out to show the antecedent like this and the consequent like that. That is the real work. That's the difficult part for students in their evaluation. They are not able to identify antecedent and consequent. It makes them up. Or they don't even know that the universal statement sitting there is actually 2 in 1, just hidden. So I'm helping you see that very well. Then we can now start labeling modus ponens as affirming the antecedent. The modus tollens is what? Denying the consequent or negating the consequent. If you don't know antecedent and consequent, you can't tell whether it is a fallacy or not, because you won't even know the correct one. Okay, there are implications. So take your time and get this one. So now let's do some few practices and let's be sure if student got it, then we move on. If I gave you the expression cats like fish, that's a universal statement. Rewrite it as a conditional and let me see. Let's use the variable x like we have been doing so far. If I say cat like fish, how would it look like? Everyone, unmute and talk. I want a chorus answer first. Cat like fish.
If X is a cat,
then
X cat,
X
then
like
X like
Very good.
or
Very good. I listen to
cat like
it's fine. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now I muted everyone, so it's fine. What I do with that is I try to listen to you all. Then I get a general sense of how people are managing. Okay, so if X is a cat, then X likes fish because I said cats like fish. I didn't say animals that like fish are cats. That would change the antecedent and consequent position immediately. Okay, but I said cats like fish. So if X is a cat, then X will like fish. Full stop. Now, one more. What about if I said kangaroos? Oh. Okay, girls braid their hair. Okay, let's use that. How will it read as a conditional? Let's use Amma.
If Amma is a girl,
Amma braids
then
her
Amma
hair.
brings her hair.
Braids her
Very
hair.
good.
Amma is the girl.
Very
Then
good.
Amma braids her hair.
Very good. Maya, it's good. So we are all moving slowly but steadily. Very good. So you know how to open your conditional, your universal statement into a conditional. Now, what about if I said, no man is perfect? That is also a universal statement. Just that it's a universal negation. So that is another, that one when you open it, it will be, I said no man is perfect. If X is a man, then X is not perfect.
It's not
That is how you
perfect.
interpret it. The not goes into the consequent, the second part. No man is perfect. You are saying, if I found anything that is a man, that thing will not be perfect. So if X is a man, then X is not perfect. That's the inversal negation, opened out into a conditional. Okay. So no, what can I do? No one will die. If I said that as a general statement, let's use no human being will die. I want it to be very easy for you. Get the concept first, then we can go into the technicality. So no human being will die. Let's use Kofi. What will it be?
If Kofi is a human being, then Kofi will not die.
Then Kofi will not die.
Then Kofi will not die. Very good. So now a little bit more practice with Miss Ajay would help you to understand universal negations, universal statements, affirmative, the positive one. You will know conditionals, antecedent, and consequent. These are the raw ingredients that you use to prepare that banquet. We are doing the pepper, we are buying onion and cutting it and scaling the fish. That's what we are doing so far. We haven't started the soup. So you need this raw material. You need these raw materials to understand. Otherwise, when we rush out and we do the palm nut soup, then you ask someone to go and do, then they put the palm fruit in the saucepan and add water. They don't know how we got there. So we have to go slowly. So take note, what have we learned in our bid to understand the difference between those two deductive patterns up there? We have studied something. We've learned one, antecedent and consequent, which are parts of what? A conditional statement. We have looked at what? Universal negations and universal affirmative. Affirmative just in positive statements. We know how to open them out to read as what? Conditionals. We've done all that also. Now we know that when we have a conditional, a friend God helped us see that when you have a conditional, where is my slide? Hey. When you have a conditional, it has two parts. It has an antecedent and a consequent. So tell me the consequent of this conditional that I'm giving. I want a chorus answer. So everybody be by your phone. Unless you have a very noisy background, we'll respect that, okay? So if I tell you, if you love me, then you will obey my commandment. If you love me, then you will obey my commandment.
She will obey my commandment.
Very good.
Then she will obey my
Consequent,
You obey my
very good. The
command.
consequent is you will obey my commandment. Finito. Jesus says, it is when you love me first that you will easily obey my command. Because my commands may not sound pleasant. Hey, they slap your left side, turn the right way, let them slap on top. Really? Papa, that's what you brought. This one there, nah. But he says, if the antecedent happens, watch, the consequent will follow. It will come with it. That's the relationship. Look at the conditional there, okay? So that's the logic of what? A conditional. If A, then be ante before, consequence after. Now you got that. So now we can continue. Now, the surname, let's see if there's something else I can top up with here. So the one we gave you for universal negations, I put something in the slides for you. No man is perfect. If X is a man, dear, then X will not be perfect. Why? Because he's a universal negation. So you have done that. No cats are dogs. If X is a cat, then it is not a dog. No humans have feathers. If X is a human, then X has no feathers. What have we done so far? We've learned conditionals, whether derived from universal negations or universal affirmatives. That's just what we did. You know how to find antecedent and consequent. Now, so look at our deductive argument up there and why we call it affirming the antecedent. Quickly. Where is it? Slide 6. Good. This is the first deductive pattern, and we have just told ourselves that that deductive part is different from this deductive part. They are all deductions, but they are different. So we want to look at the different types. This is called modus ponens, Paul. The other one is called modus tollens. Come in. Modus tollens. Let's interrogate. After we had our universal statement, all students write exams. The next premise said, Amma is a student. We started all students write exam. Then the next premise, it is this second premise that names the deductive pattern. This second premise says, Amma is a student. Therefore, it will follow. Therefore, it will follow that she writes exams. What did we do after our universal statement? We affirmed the antecedent. Now you are okay with that. We said Amma is a student. Then we concluded, therefore, or so she writes exam. This is modus ponens. Another name for that type of valid deduction. Look at our slide. Madam read it for us. It's what? Look at modus ponens here. It's called affirming the antecedent. So right after we're giving our universal statement, what we did next was to affirm the antecedent. That means we ensure that the antecedent happened right after the general statement. If that happens, the conclusion will automatically follow. The conclusion would also affirm the consequent. That's why we call it modus ponens. It is valid. Which valid pattern is that? Paul. I call this one modus Paul. Then this one is modus Timothy. So modus ponens and modus tollens. Let's go and see whether you can develop for me now a modus ponens valid pattern from the general statement. Women like rich men. Write that down. I want something that you don't have to struggle to remember. Women like rich men. Mbappe mema wo sika. Yes, bohini yeshika. We've heard you. Women like rich men. Now let's use my sister. Okay. So that we develop a modus ponens valid argument. Ponens, okay. Affirming the antecedent. Who has finished? I want us to have a uniform answer. That's why I'm giving you preambles. Okay. So use my sister. Then let's do modus ponens. Our starting point is women like rich men. Let's hear one person first. Then later on we can do chorus answer. God, keep your hand up. Oh. I've seen an experience and two. The two can be there. Now, if you want to answer, okay, so I see Redeem, John. Go ahead, Redeem. I see Prince, I see Edutu and someone different. Let's take Redeem. Redeem, go ahead.
My sister, women likes rich men. My sister is a woman, so she likes rich men.
Very good. We all agree with Redeem that that is what? Modus ponens. See that? Why? Because Redeem, your people are making too much. They are not redeeming us at all. The reason is just like this, our pattern on the screen. When we said women like rich men, the next thing we said was, my sister is a woman. My sister is a woman. It means we affirmed what? The antecedent. Just like this one said, Amma is a student. It's a pattern. So follow. Don't be complacent. Don't be a lechon. Before you scatter the whole bank for us and put plenty lamps, then we can eat it. Relax and chill, cry. Let me point them out to you gently, okay? Please. People get complacent. They say, oh, then we get it. Now, when you ask one question, they're over the bar. It's logic. We are dealing with the pattern, the form, the structure, and they look alike. And at the same time, others too are pretending to be like them. They don't even do it correctly at all. It's fallacy. It doesn't follow the pattern. So we are dealing with about 4 or 5 intricate things at once. That's why I don't want you to just think you have gotten it. Okay, so we said boss got the answer correct. Why? Because he says, just like the pattern on the screen, the form, he started with what? Women like rich men. We said he should do ponens. Modus ponens, that's what affirms the antecedent. So right after our universal statement, what he did next, and he did it correctly, was to say, my sister is a woman. He affirmed the antecedent. He didn't say, my sister likes rich men. Therefore, we should conclude that she's a woman. That would have been invalid. So what boss did is that he said, women like rich men. My sister is a woman. Therefore, she likes rich men. That is valid modus ponens. Now, the one that I just showed you that some people would say, so let's use women like rich men again, or better still on our screen. Someone will say, all students write exams. Then the second premise, instead of saying Amma is a student, therefore Amma writes exams, so it will be valid by modus ponens. They will not do that. They will say, all students write exams. Amma writes exam. That would not be affirming the antecedent. It will be affirming the consequent. You say, Amma writes exam, so we should conclude, therefore, that she's a student. And that will not be valid. So if you want to do modus ponens correctly, remember what your friend redeemed it. He redeemed us. Another example, still on modus ponens validity. Everybody take your paper or your laptop, or if you have some charcoal by the wall there, write it on the floor and finish, wash it. But right. Say, this woman does well. Charlie, the way she teaches the why are there. Thank you for the fans. Learn the thing and get an A. I want you to get 89. You get 1 wrong from me, 99, or 2 wrongs, it's fine. But get an A, that's what is important, okay? And you do well when you practice. This one is done, it's not read. So I'm giving an example to help you, and then I'll guide you. Let's start with this one. Still on modus ponens, get that very well, then the rest will flow. Question, let's start with human beings fly. Develop modus ponens using my lecture. Who has finished?
I.
Very good. Go ahead, Ernestina. Was it Ernestina?
Yes, please.
Please go ahead, my lady.
Please, I can't see the slides.
Don't worry. I've gone back to where we were earlier. Okay. If you keep your phone stable for a while, it will go off. So go off and come again. Can you see it now?
Yes,
Who is
please.
giving me? Yes, thank you. Don't let your phone remain without activity for a while. To go off. So keep touching it. Okay, Mate, Adam, go ahead.
Human beings fly. My lecturer is a human being, so she flies.
Excellent. Modus ponens, which is also called affirming the antecedent. And we know all that now. We know which one is antecedent, why we are calling the reasoning pattern affirming the antecedent. Is the second premise. That is what names it. Now, suppose someone was trying to do modus ponens, but doesn't do it well, and commits the fallacy that we call the fallacy of affirming the consequent. How would it read? It's a fallacy. It means it's incorrect. The person is deducing, but doesn't deduce it well. Let's go to the slides quickly. It will help us. And then going forward, you want to prompt anyone who is doing that. Don't do it that way. That's not valid. You shouldn't do that. So let's look at the two apart. Look at that. Sagat, please read for me now. The modus ponens, the correct one, to your left. Affirming the antecedent.
Modus ponens, affirming the antecedent. Heavy smokers have lung issues. Kofi is a heavy smoker, so he has lung issues.
Very good. That's valid. Now let's look at the incorrect form, which is a fallacy. That fallacy is called affirming the consequent. I didn't say the fallacy of modus ponens. There is nothing like that. The fallacy has its name. It's called the fallacy that affirms the consequent. Don't write fallacy of modus ponens. You get the answer wrong. Modus ponens is valid, a valid form. Its incorrect form is what? The fallacy of affirming the consequent. Please read that. Let's see the pattern that we say is wrong. And so we label it as such.
Affirming the consequent.
Okay.
Heavy smokers have lung issues. Kofi has lung issues, so he is a heavy smoker.
Now you will see what is happening. Thank you, Segad. You see that after a general premise, the heavy smokers have lung issues. See what this person does. He says Kofi has lung issues. When we say heavy smokers have lung issues, it doesn't prevent, say, sickle cell patients also from having lung issues. They can also have lung issues, but they are not heavy smokers. Remember the picture of the truck, which has inside of it different fruit sets. There is a box for bananas, there is a box for oranges, there is a box for mangoes, Aduguntu green is there, Alasatu is there. They are all inside the set of fruits, but they are different independent fruit sets inside the bigger set called what? Fruits. That means if I say heavy smokers have lung issues, in that box of lung issues, the universal set, a big one, and inside it is a set of what? Heavy smokers. You can also have sickle cell patients being what? Another subset inside the big set of lung issues. And so on and so forth. Those who have gotten broken hearts may have lung issues, I don't know. Those who have overeaten, blah, blah, blah. So inside a set of lung issues, the antecedent conditions that generate the consequent called lung issues are many. So when I say heavy smokers have lung issues, I have not said that those who have lung issues are necessarily heavy smokers. No, sir. That's how we have taught, generally speaking. So when someone says politicians are corrupt, people think they are saying that corrupt people are politicians. No, when you say politicians are corrupt, there is space in the set of corruption for pastors and imams and lecturers too. They can be corrupt. You are just giving one antecedent condition that leads to what? A consequence. If that is the whole reasoning behind it, I'm giving you the understanding so that you don't just learn the mechanics, the rules, there's a thinking behind it. So if I say heavy smokers have lung issues, then the next premise says Kofi has lung issues. So I should conclude, therefore, that he's a heavy smoker. The logic is sick. It's fallacious. Because Kofi may not necessarily be inside the set of heavy smokers, but will still be inside a set of what? Lung issues. So picture your Venn diagram now. The one that we begged you to pass before you come to the university now. Won't you know? You see that it has come up. Commas. Circle is inside the big rectangle. If you put X into the circle, then you have already put X into the big rectangle. Because Mami Nankasa is inside the big set there. Then the baby inside there would automatically be inside the big set. That is the logic behind modus ponens. Now, if you say, like this one is doing here, affirming the consequent, is saying that all mangoes are inside the set of fruits. The next premise wants to tell us this thing I'm holding is inside the set of fruits. Okay, therefore we should conclude that it is a mango. No, it could be inside the truck, the picture I've given you earlier, and not necessarily be inside the mango basket. This may be aluguntu or coconut or orange. So it will be inside the fruit set, yes. But you know, be say by force it be mango. It is all about the evidence you are providing. You have said that heavy smokers have lung issues. Then you now tell us that Kofi has lung issues, so we should by force necessarily say therefore that he's a heavy smoker. That doesn't follow. It's an incorrect reasoning. But because they look alike, they also have gotten their names. So whereas the original one is affirming the antecedent, the counterfeit affirms the consequent instead. Now you got the understanding. Let's look at the second valid pattern, which I told you earlier when you saw up there with the pen and the mango and the fruit. Let's see it here. Now you have a good ground, so we can move. Modus tollens. Modus tollens validity is not modus ponens validity. So Segad, do us the honors. Please read the second slide again. This time we start, all of us starting at heavy smokers, okay? But the pattern deviates from the earlier one. Heavy smokers have lung issues. Say why? Modus tollens.
Heavy smokers have lung issues. Kofi does not have lung issues, so he is not a heavy smoker.
Very good. This is just like the pen one. When we said mangoes are fruits, this pen is not even a fruit. Then we can say that it is not a mango because it's not even in the box, the truck full of fruit. Then it cannot be a mango per our premises. Okay? This one is easier. Heavy smokers have lung issues. All heavy smokers are inside the set of those who have lung issues. Now we go and get a person called Kofi who is not even in the big set. A negation of the consequent. I'm showing you what? Modus tollens. It's not the same as modus ponens, but they are both valid. They are valid in their own way. So the tollens, what happens after the universal statement? You negate the consequent. You deny. Denying means you negate it, you turn it upside down. So if the original is positive, you turn it upside down to become negative. If the original is negative, you turn it upside down to become positive. So negation or denial means butuno in terms of truth value. Turn it upside down in terms of truth value. So heavy smokers have lung issues. Kofi does not. If you want to do a valid modus tollens, you bring the consequent first after your main premise, and you conclude with the antecedent. But you do that by negating both. So if the original is positive, its negation will be negative. The original is negative, its negation will be positive. But by all means, for tollens, conceive first, until last, both negated. That's the pattern. We can't have it your way. It's patterns. If I showed you a lot earlier, you understand. Okay, so this is modus tollens. Look at modus ponens. They are both valid. This one, after the universal, what did we do? We only brought the antecedent as it was given to us. You affirmed the ante. Then you concluded by affirming the concept. That's what modus ponens is. So originally, if there was a not there, you will bring it. You didn't put it there. You just brought antecedent as it was given and concluded with consequent as it was given. Very good. Tollens, after your universal, what should you do? Bring consequent next, conclude with antecedent. We will not begrudge you. However, because you want to bring the consequent first, negate it, butuno. Then bring the antecedent last, negate it. It will also be valid, but it will not be called affirming the antecedent or modus ponens. It will be called modus tollens. If you do the opposite of that, see, the person after establishing the premise, the main premise, now says Kofi is not a heavy smoker. If you say Kofi is not a heavy smoker, you are negating the antecedent. You don't do that in the premises. See, so this will be invalid. Then you conclude, therefore, he does not have lung issues. No, sir, it's not valid. This is called the fallacy of denying the antecedent. You can say negating the antecedent. It's not valid. So here are the correct patterns of two different valid forms with nice designer names that we used to scare you. Here are their counterpart, informal fallacy. That's informal, formal fallacy, incorrect way of reasoning. They are formal fallacies because they are doing deduction, just that they are doing it wrongly. Okay, so they are formal. But I'm saying that incorrect ways of doing modus ponens here and the incorrect way of doing modus tollens. Too much talk. Now let's practice. So quickly, again, on your own paper there, write down what can you remember easily? Again, I want you to grasp the things without too much effort. Shatter fans will go to heaven. Hey, you know, yes. Shatter fans will go to heaven. Now, I want the ladies to develop modus ponens valid argument from that. the gentlemen will do modus tollens from that. Our starting point are the same. We are all modus. But one is Paul, the other is Timothy. Ladies, go Paul. Guys, go Timothy. Let's use a uniform answer. So let's use a attire, and I'll tell it. Shatter fans will go to heaven. Who has finished? You are using hotel. Please put up your hand when you finish. And you are a brother. Brothers are doing modus ponens. Ladies are doing tollens. Who has finished? Okay, I see hand 11 up. So that would be Gloria. Gloria, you do for ladies, I guess. Go ahead. Oh, who is talking?
I am a shatter fan, therefore I will go to heaven.
But I didn't say use I. I gave you names. Don't mind me, okay? So that is Otella is a shatter fan. Therefore, Otella. Don't worry, I'm just pulling your leg. I want you to do that so it will help you. You see, when you are under pressure, even for your revision, you say, don't you remember this thing that the lecturer was saying, Otella something. On when you say shatter fans, go there, wow. That's why I do that. So the pattern is all that we are interested in, to show you that we are not actually talking about truth out there, because we can't verify through observation whether shatter fans will go to heaven or not. So we are just looking at the variables. If you are a shatter fan, then you go to heaven. Starting point. Otella is a shatter fan. Auntie is doing ponens. Otella is a shatter fan. She's affirming the antecedent. Then it will mean that Otella will go to heaven. That is what? Modus ponens. Correctly done. Well done. I want a gentleman to do the tollens now. Anybody? Francis? Your hand is up, Francis. Joshua Ferry, go ahead. Hey, Joshua, where did you go? Last week we were my TO. Go ahead.
Okay, madam. Shatter fans will go to heaven. Otella will go to heaven. So Otella will not go to heaven.
Will not. Very good.
So Otella is not a shatter fan.
Very good. That is modus tollens. Validly done. The ponens that Madame did, thank you, sir. The ponens that Madame did is also called affirming the antecedent. You have said it over and over again. Some people learn better that way. When you repeat it and repeat it, before it will sink in. So bear with us. Then our friend Josh just did modus tollens. It's also valid. Another name for modus tollens is what? Denying the consequent. It's also valid. Now, suppose someone was trying to do modus ponens but didn't do it well. If I said, so I'll give you another example, then you diagnose, assess, evaluate, examine my reasoning. All friends tell the truth. All friends tell the truth. Nancy is not my friend. So Nancy did not tell me the truth. How will you diagnose this? Is this valid or not valid? If valid, why? If not valid, why? That's a typical exam question. Maybe word 2 minutes. Word 2 marks. All friends tell the truth. Nancy is not my friend. So Nancy did not tell me the truth. If I asked you to assess it or evaluate, what would you say? I say it for the last time. All friends tell the truth. Nancy did not tell me. Nancy is not my friend. Therefore, Nancy did not tell me the truth. Is it valid or not valid? Valid or not? Chorus answer.
No. It's valid.
Not valid. Not valid. Not valid. It's
Not
valid.
But it's valid.
Not valid. Not valid.
Not valid.
Not
It's
valid.
This one is valid.
Valid.
It's valid.
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 Not
valid.
It's valid.
Not valid.
It's fine. Thank you all very much.
Not valid.
I've muted all now, please, please, please. I've muted all. I want to help you because now there is a tie. So it means that I have to come again. So listen to my expression. All friends tell the truth. And all friends tell the truth. In your mind's eye, immediately picture antecedent, picture consequent. That's how you do assessment. Okay. All friends tell the truth. The next premise said, Nancy is not my friend. Therefore, Nancy did not tell me the truth. Look at the pattern, not the way you have been thinking in the past. We are washing your thinking like something. We are washing the way we are used to thinking wrongly and evaluating wrongly. That's what critical thinking is doing. Look at the pattern.
It's invalid.
So all friends, relax, all friends tell the truth. Nancy is not my friend. That's what I've said. What have I done? Have I affirmed antecedent?
You are denying the
No.
antecedent.
What have I done? I have denied the antecedent. Everybody's allowed to change their mind. Don't worry. If I deny the antecedent, is it valid or not?
It's not.
It's valid.
It's not.
It's not valid.
It's not valid.
It's
If I
valid.
deny the antecedent, so I want everyone to get it wrong. Most of you have gotten it correct, but I had one or two wrongs. So look on the screen. If I deny the antecedent, is it valid or not?
It's not valid.
No,
It's not valid. It's not
Can you
valid.
see it now?
One is valid.
No. Oh,
It's
valid.
It's fallacy.
I've added plenty
It's
salt
invalid.
to our soup.
Madam, it's invalid.
It's not valid. Okay.
I'm saying valid. It's invalid.
Don't worry. So let's help ourselves. We'll wait for everyone on this one. Okay, don't worry. It's important. Okay, we still have 30 minutes. So look on the screen. One or two people. I think the generality of the classes, we are close to 200. So we are good. But even if it's one person, you will leave the 99 and go after them. Don't worry, we'll get them. So listen, especially where they are willing to come, they are just struggling to find their way. So look at it very well. Boss, as soon as you say heavy smokers have lung issues, that's the starting point. It's a universal statement. The one I use is friends tell, all friends tell the truth. Friends tell the truth. Antecedent is what? X is a friend.
Yes.
Consequent is S tells the truth. If you want to do, oh dear, please, can you mute your turn for me? I beg you, don't disturb my student. Now, if I want to do modus ponens, the poor one, which affirms the antecedent, then from the statement, friends tell the truth, I must move to what? Nancy is a friend, is a friend. I have to affirm it, take what is there and put it down. Don't introduce not, unless the not was given to you. The original didn't have any not there. Okay, so I said friends tell the truth. Antecedent is X is a friend. Consequent is what? S tells the truth, the full statement, not a fragment. Okay. Now, if I want to do ponens, then I should have said Nancy is a friend. Therefore, Nancy tells me the truth. That will be valid, modus ponens. If I want to do modus tollens, we know that it can also be done, but we have to move from the consequent first and conclude with the antecedent, in each case, negating. So if it is tollens I wanted to do, I would have said, friends tell the truth. Nancy does not tell me the truth. Therefore, Nancy is not a friend. That would also be valid. Modus tollens. I hope you got that. Now, the example I gave you that I asked you to do an assessment of, which maybe 90% of the class got correct so far, and it's good, but we are waiting for the 10%. This is what I said. Friends tell the truth. Then the next premise, remember, is the second premise that names the fallacy all the time. Look at it, the helping premise, not the main mother premise. Okay. So I said, friends tell the truth. Then I said, Nancy is not my friend. That's what I said. And yeah, madam, Nancy is not my friend. I have just denied or negated the antecedent. The antecedent. You don't do that. Then I concluded, therefore, Nancy does not tell me the truth. This is not valid. Which type of invalid pattern would that be? It will be the one that is called denying the antecedent. Very good. One more. Excellent. So whoever had confusion, I'm sure is settling now. Now, one more. Write it down. Write it down because you are still I can use the patterns to quickly do it because by the grace of God, I've done it for a while. You are now learning it. It's okay. The young too shall grow. So you have to learn systematically. That's why sometimes I say write it down. So write it down. Okay, write it somewhere. I said, if you do not study, I'm going to confuse you a little because I'm bringing not now. Or maybe let me take out the not. Understand the main lines, then we can make it a bit more intricate. So let's do passport. If you have a passport, let's use that. I'm sorry. So right, if you have a passport, then you can travel. If you have a passport, then you can travel. Very good. Now, let's develop, or I should give you the whole thing, then you assess it. So if you have a passport, then you can travel. What should I use as my second premise? Okay, my second premise says, Kofi does not have a passport. So Kofi did not travel. If you have a passport, then you can travel. Kofi does not have a passport, so Kofi cannot travel. This is what I have written down as my argument. You are the assessor, critical thinker. You want to check the value of my reasoning. Is it valid or not valid, and why?
Invalid.
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 Not valid because you are denying the antecedent.
Not valid. Can you all see that?
Denying the antecedent.
Invalid.
Because you are denying that.
Now, it is not valid because I again negated the word, the antecedent. And then I concluded by negating the consequent. I have to do it through to the end. Okay. I concluded by negating the consequent also. That is not valid. If I wanted it to be modus tollens valid, what should I do? Now I want a hand up, please, so that those who are still filling small gaps don't get confused. So my starting point, if you have a passport, then you can travel. So what passport dear? And the obit to me to quite call your passport there, they'll buy your family. Our passport, no, able to me to quite. If you have a passport, then you can travel. I want modus tollens. Use Nanado, a fine first gentleman of the land. Who is speaking? Very good. Plenty hands up. Very good. Let's take Charlotte, you've spoken today. I want someone else. Let's take Amos Kobe, please. Thank you. Amos, go ahead.
Nanado does not travel or cannot travel. So he does not have a passport.
Very good. Excellent. You could have even said Nanado does not have. Nanado cannot have. Nanado is not having. Nanado shall not have. The logician is not interested in the tenses. The logician is looking at the logic, negation, conditional, biconditional, disjunction. The philosophy students amongst you do that. Those are the ones that we are interested in. Okay. So our friend did it nicely. What he did first, because he wants to do modus tollens, was to bring the consequent first, negated. Then he concluded with the antecedent also negated. That is valid by modus tollens. If you go and bring the antecedent first negated, we have already seen the fallacy that bears that thing. Then if you want to do modus ponens, so how will you go about it? The same preamble. Ponens now, Paul. So we start by saying, if you have a passport, then you can travel. Let's use JDM, a fine ex-president John Dramani Mahama, JDM. Okay, so if you have a passport, then I can travel. Someone do ponens for us. Ado, Dorcas, Minyaba, go ahead. Ado, Dorcas, please go ahead. Modus ponens. Yay, Ado, Dorcas is gone, or maybe struggling a little. Let's take Audrey. Audrey, go ahead. Modus ponens. If I have a passport, then I can travel. Want to use JDM? Ponens.
Hello. JDM has a passport. He can travel.
Very good. That is also valid. Modus ponens. Dorcas, sorry, I thought you were not on, so I skipped you quickly. So you may want to, that's valid. So we know valid modus ponens, we know valid modus tollens. Then we even know invalid modus tollens, which is actually called what? Denying the antecedent. We also know invalid modus ponens, which is what? Called affirming the consequent. So if you know the correct one, the original, you can easily know the fake. If you know correct dollar note. Sometimes even if the person is counting it in front of your counter there, he won't finish. Say, Master, we don't have cities. We can't change it. Please go. Because you can tell that it's fake. If you know correct Ghana city, you can tell the fake one. So you have to know the original so well, its pattern, its other name, so you can easily label the wrong one. Okay, we can't test the spirit. When people are ministering, we can't test the spirit because the original, we don't know. Test all spirits. All right, if you got it, then now we can add a little higher level of what? Difficulty. What I'm going to do is not to go to disjunctive syllogism and hypothetical syllogism. I don't teach that way. A little at a time. Well done. Then you build on it. Then you build on it. That's how you learn. If you are eating the banku in the plate, big blows like that, will become a flat surface in no time. But you eat it a little at a time. You bite small, you take small, then you munch on it, then you make sure that it's well mixed, you swallow, take the next one. That way it will digest well. Can eat plenty. Not in a hurry, boom, 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 big one blows, this, you will choke. So we will do tollens and ponens today, and their counterparts, the negative ones, why do I keep saying informal? The fallacy, which you know very well now, and practice more. But I'm going to add something little in terms of what? Where you use universal negations as your starting point. So let's do that. It's the same principle. Just remember that if the original is positive, its negation will be negative. Because if I say negate a negative statement, nege will become po. So two negations will make it positive. So that if the original says, you do not have a passport, a negation will be what? You have a passport, in that order. That is the only thing I want to add now. Then we'll wrap up with syllogism and soundness and what time. Okay? So good deal. In 5 minutes, we should be done. We'll take all your questions. Now, starting point. So write it down. Still modus ponens, modus tollens, and then their fallacies. If you do not study, I'm giving you a conditional statement. If you do not study, then you will not pass. God forbid that for you. You will study and you will pass. But we are doing examples. So if you do not study, then you will not pass. Now we're going to use Kofi. Develop a modus ponens valid argument for me, where you affirm the antecedent. Who has finished? All of you. Unmute and ask. So Kofi.
So he will pass.
If you do not study, then you will not pass. We are doing modus ponens. I think it's fair to do 1-1. Okay, so let's take people. Frimpong, I've not called you today. Modus ponens. Modus ponens, Frimpong. Elenosai Boate. Excuse me, Boating. Elenosai Boating. Sorry. Please, can you help us? If you do not study, then you will not pass. Frimpong, are you in? Maybe I'm not waiting for you long enough. Please go ahead then. Remember, the originals are all negations.
Okay.
Yes. I didn't tell you to negate anything. So go ahead. Come again, please.
Kofi steady, so you will pass.
Okay, thank you very much. Unfortunately, that is not correct, but I'll explain to you. We are doing ponens, modus ponens. Modus ponens doesn't alter anything, doesn't change anything. It just uses the original that has been given. So if I said, if you do not study, then you will not pass. For modus ponens, the next premise should say, Kofi did not study. Therefore, Kofi did not pass. These notes are not what I put. I didn't change anything. I was given as my raw material. If you do not study, then you will not pass. So I affirm the antecedent how? I picked the antecedent as it was given to me first, and then I conclude with what? The consequent as it was given to me. I'm done. So I didn't introduce the note. The notes are given. I just picked it like a negative number that you're working with. You just pick it as it was given and affirm antecedent first and conclude by affirming the consequent. It will be modus ponens. So in our scenario, if you do not study, then you will not pass. Kofi did not study, therefore Kofi will not pass. That is modus ponens. Correct. Well done. Now, if I wanted to do modus tollens, T-O-L-L-lens, from the same premise, what is the premise? If you do not study, then you will not pass. I said the original statement given to us has two negations in both antecedent and the consequent. How would you do modus tollens? Very good. Let's take dollar, BIM. Go ahead, dollar. If Dollar is not able to, Gad, do you want to help us? I saw you unmute your mic. Please go ahead. Don't have much time now.
Kofi did not pass.
Very good.
Okay.
Please hold on. The original was not very
pass.
good. Hold on. Hold on. The original had not in it. And we are doing tolerance. So I said, if you do not study, then you will not pass. I would say, so Gad, go ahead.
Kofi did not study. Kofi did not pass.
But that would be a repetition of.
Do
you realize that that would be a repetition of what was originally given? We just pick the not there and put down.
Yes.
But modus tollens says negate.
Okay.
I hope you get it. Now, do you see the point? So originally, we're given. Does someone want to help God for us, please?
Yes.
Okay, the name is R.I.
Yes.
I see R.I. Who is this? Just a minute. R.I. shut up. I want to give everybody the opportunity. Who is this? Theophilus, mute your thing, please. I beg you. Who is R.I.? Have patience, eh? The hands up at 22. Everybody will talk some. Okay. Let me take Moses Akufu. Oh, Moses, are you busy? Okay, redeem. I think it was redeem, right? The RI.
Hello, madam.
Go ahead, sir. Thank you. You are doing tolerance. Everyone listen, please. This is how you are examined. Final exam, sometimes this is worth 5 marks. Yes, out of the 50. Yes, you can have something like this and an exam. So you should be able to answer that. Our starting point is if you do not study, then you will not pass. We are doing Modus Ponens valid argument using the word
He did
Kofi.
not.
Go ahead.
He did not.
Redeem, go ahead.
Hello, madam.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Kofi study, so he will pass.
Okay, so what is the antecedent first? I want to help everybody. I said if you do not study, then you will not pass. This is a conditional statement. It has an antecedent and a what? A consequent. We are doing modus tollens, so we have to start our decomposition with what? The consequent. Then we conclude with the antecedent. In each case, we have to negate. In each case, we have to negate both. That should give you some good, very relevant information. Mensa Jude, go ahead. Kobina. I muted all again. So Mensa Jude, you have to unmute first.
Hello, madam.
I called Mensa Jude, please. Who is talking? Yeah, ready.
Gideon.
Okay, go ahead. I see Gideon's hand too. Let me take Gideon. I think
Madam,
Gideon's hand. Amos, talk. The next one will be Gideon. Amos, go ahead. Modus Ponens.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Kofi will pass, therefore he does study.
Very good. That's correct. Kofi will pass. Kofi has passed. Kofi shall pass. Kofi passed. It all applies. We just take away the negation there in the consequent and bring the consequent first. I said that is the consequent first. After the main premise, you go to because you are doing modus tollens. Tollens brings the consequent first before concluding with the antecedent. But then you do that and you negate both. So if the original statement given to you was negative, its negation becomes positive. Keep that all the time. It happens in maths, it happens in logic. Every deductive study has that. The original is positive, its negation will be negative. The original is negative, its negation will be positive. Because negative will become positive. Negate, po. I said all that. So if it's modus tollens, what is the pattern? Focus first on what? Bringing the consequentness after your main premise. Conclude with what? The antecedent. But remember that both must be what? Negated. That's how you do it. So if you do not study, then you will not pass. How will it be? It will become Kofi passed. Therefore, Kofi studied. Finito. If you know it, 2 minutes at most, you have finished typing. Your 5 marks is boxed. Move on to the next question. If you don't know two, you can sit till tomorrow come. Oh, the time was not enough. We really needed time to do nothing. Know the patterns. One more, practice. Where we have reached is where we end, so don't stress yourself much. Practice. Write it down. If you are my friend, then you will not steal from me. I want an antecedent that is positive and a consequent that is negative. That's why I'm doing that. If you are my friend, then you will not steal from me. Modus Ponens. Use adwa. If friend, then not steal from me. Adwa. Samuel Barnes. Go ahead. Ponens. Gideon, stand by after this one. Gideon Ample, my other TA. If you are my friend, then you will not steal from me. Samuel Barnes, quick, please.
Okay, madam, are you using modus?
I said Ponens.
Ponens, okay.
Yeah.
If you are my friend, then you will not steal from me. Okay, Ajwa. Ajwa is my friend.
Very good.
Then, so he did not steal from me.
She did not steal from me. Very good.
Yes,
That's valid. Modus ponens. What if we wanted to do tolerance, Gideon, ample? The same preamble. If you are my friend, then you will not steal from me. Let's use Ajua and generate a valid modus tollens pattern. Remember, tolerance is called denying the consequent. It's very tricky, so look at it very well. I'm listening, sir.
Madam.
Yeah, right there. Yes, sir. Go ahead. If
Madam,
friend and not still. Yes.
if you are my friend, then you will not steal from me. That's the preamble. So for
Yes, sir.
modus tollens, Ajua stole from me.
Good.
So she's not my friend.
Excellent. I wish I could give you +1, but this is tough. It has a beam, it's slanted this way and that way, this way and that way. But if you know the pattern, you are not disturbed at all. You just ask yourself, am I doing tolerance? Well done, sir. Am I doing tolerance? You say yes. Okay. If it's tolerance, consequent first, antecedent last. Okay, I've done that. But I have to remember to negate both. So if the original was positive, I negate it. If the original was negative, I negate it. A negation of a negation becomes positive. That is it. They are just rules. That's why we say deduction is topic neutral. We don't care the content. All butterflies are mangoes. My lecture is a butterfly. I have to follow that my lecture is a mango by Modus Ponens. It will be valid. Our only problem is that we'll say it is not sound. See how I introduced the last one? It's not sound. If it is sound, it means after you establish that the reasoning is valid, you want to make sure that all the premises are actually true out there. That's what soundness means. A sound argument is a higher quality than what? A valid argument. Validity is just concerned about the pattern of reasoning. So modus ponens, tolerance, what have you, is where the premises are true, the conclusion necessarily follows. Then we say it's valid. That's all. It doesn't speak about whether the premises are actually true or false, okay? Now, where your premises are, the argument is valid and the premises are also true, the premises are the evidence you have given are also true, then we say the argument is not just valid. Wow, this is sound. It's sound. So soundness is validity plus truth. You can add that to what you know. So look at this on the screen now. We haven't done hypothetical syllogism. Don't worry, I'm just using the example for you. All mangoes are fruits, all fruits are edible. Then it will follow that all mangoes are edible. That's hypothetical syllogism. This is valid by hypothetical syllogism. And the premises are all true. It is true that all mangoes are fruits. And it's true that fruits are edible. We eat fruits. Then it will have to follow that mangoes are edible because mangoes are themselves part of fruit. This is not just valid, but the premises, those two premises here are true. So this is what? A sound argument. Well done. There was a little Maggie cube I wanted to put in our food so far, which is what you see on the screen. Let me have my Segad read this last one. If it's not gone already, then we are done for the day. I think you've done well. Segad, read the final screen there, then we are done. If he's not available, maybe he has to run out to another lecture. Anyone else can read it for us, please. Let me take a. If you have a Joshua, please read for me, or Favor, whoever. Yes. Favor, go ahead. Oh, Favor, your background is not good. I beg you. Hey, Debbie, I beg. Please, who has a good background? Quickly, we are done. I have to open the class for the next session. Doctors.
Okay, madam.
Hello, doctors. Did I hear you? Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Please read for me. Yo, thank you. Let Adodokas read for us, okay? I beg everyone. Go ahead, sister.
Okay. A syllogism simply refers to a deductive argument with two premises and a conclusion.
Excellent.
All the valid forms we study are syllogisms.
Yes. So the word syllogism, people get stressed out with the many words that they have to get used to. Don't worry. Always remember that your name is not easy to mention. We are all managing. So think of it that way, and it will reduce your stress. See, I have to mention my fine sister's name here, and it's not easy. So sometimes I skip some of the names, and I mention the middle one. So be at peace. Syllogism, like you are saying syllabus, then you add logic to it. So syllogism just is a word to reference what? Every argument that is deductive. So you know them now. The modus, whatever that we have studied, the hypo and all of them. Okay. When you have a deduction with two premises, evidences, leading to a single conclusion. Look at what you see on your screen. This is a syllogism. It's simply because you have two premises and a conclusion, and it is a deduction. That's all. That's what makes it a syllogism. Don't worry your head over anything. So modus tollens is also a syllogism. Two premises leading to a conclusion. You need to. The same with hypothetical syllogism and disjunctive syllogism. They come with the name syllogism. So sometimes people think modus ponens and tollens are not syllogism. That's not true. They are all syllogism. All right, well done. So I'll use 1 minute to tie everything up.